When Sadhguru Shribrahma came from the plains to the Nilgiri hills for the first time, he stayed in Mettupalayam, which is situated at the foothills. He sat under a banyan tree where he spent a few days. Not much is on record beyond this, except for the fact that the land belongs to the Sadhguru Rajayoga Sangam, where the Rotary Club supports a primary school today. It is from here that Sadhguru came to the Barliyar cave, where the Kurumbar tribe situation happened. It seems more likely that Sadhguru Shribrahma must have been by himself during this period. We also found some mention of him spending time in the Tiger Cave. Although the Tiger Cave is located on the way to Ooty, close to the highly frequented Valley View Point, this cave has long been forgotten.
இப்போ நம்ம இருக்கிறது வேல்யூ வியூன்ற ஏரியா. இதுக்கு மேலே இருக்கிறது டைகர் கேவ்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. அதோட இன்னொரு பேர் வந்து புலிப்பாணி குகைன்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. அதுக்கு பேர் சகுரு கொஞ்ச நாள் இங்கே இருந்திருக்காங்க. ஆனால் அந்த குகைக்கு நம்ம இன்னும் பார்க்கணுன்னு இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் தூரம் போகணும். பாருங்கள், நம்ம வந்த தூரம் எவ்வளோ ஒன்று அந்த வியூ பார்த்தாலே தெரியும்.
He says that it's closer, only 100 steps. But we climb 100 steps, actually it will be like this much height.
This cave has been an abode to few yogis in the ancient past. In one of the books we referred to, there is a mention of Pulipani Siddha, the one with tiger claws, who stayed here many centuries ago. Referred to as Vyagrapada Maharishi, he was a disciple of Bogar who created the Navabhashana idol of Palani and attained to Nirvikalpa Samadhi below the sanctum in Palani temple. And Bogar is said to be the disciple of Kalanginadar from Nath Sampradaya and Agastya Maharishi. From his guru Bogar, Vyagrapada mastered the art of alchemy and Siddha Vaidyam. Maharishi Vyagrapada was the first to reach Chidambaram for doing tapas. He is always depicted alongside Patanjali Maharishi in the establishment of the Chidambaram Nataraja space and Moolasthana Linga. There are many places in Bharat where stories and incidents related to Vyagrapada are told. This story is relevant because of its proximity to Manavai Siddhar Samadhi in my village in Kanyakumari district. Vyagrapada is known to be a very staunch devotee of Shiva in his early days and who could not stand the word Narayana. There are 12 temples in Kanyakumari district which are visited by devotees chanting Narayana Narayana or Gopala Gopala for the entire duration of Mahashivratri festivities. According to folklore, Lord Krishna instructs Bhima to go and whisper Narayana in the ears of Vyagrapada when he is meditating. Vyagrapada gets angry and starts chasing Bhima. These 12 temples are considered to be the spots where Bhima drops a Rudraksha as Vyagrapada chases him. It is said that each Rudraksha bead became a linga. The 12th temple is said to be the place where Vishnu and Shiva together gave darshan to Vyagrapada to show him that Hari and Hara are one. From here, Vyagrapada goes on to establish and consecrate the Vaikam Mahadeva temple in Kerala. This temple is thronged by both Shaivites and Vaishnavites for its association with Parashurama, an avatar of Vishnu. We will elaborate the relevance of these 12 temples in the final episode on Manavai Siddhar. During the British era, this cave came to be known as Tiger Cave. Around 1903, Om Prakash Swami came and stayed here and was initiated by Subarnar, a disciple of Sabhabadi Swamigal. This is where Om Prakash Swami was given the title of Yogindra and was instructed to remain in sadhana in this cave. He was also told to read the books Vairagya Sadagam and Vairagya Deepam. One of these were written by Kumaradevar of Veerashaiva Mata, Virdachalam, and the other was written by Perur Sandananda Swamigal. When Sadhguru Shribrahma came here around 1912-1913, some references suggest that he stayed here for quite some time, to an extent where even the people of the surrounding villages learned about Sadhguru Shribrahma. They started coming to the cave to receive his darshan and blessings. When the crowds became larger, Sadhguru sat on top of the rocks and spoke to the people. The reference we found says that Sadhguru also gave them medicines and cured them of their illnesses. There is a shrine of AGASTHYA Muni on top of the mountain here. She is the Grama Devi of the Badugas. The history, culture and tradition of the Badugas are elaborate and unique. They are said to have migrated from Mysore to escape the forced Islamic conversions by the king. From that day to this, their devotion has remained unshakable. The first book on AGASTHYA Muni was written by Sri N.N. Pokkamada Kaudar from Naduhatti village. He has also mentioned in the book published in 1949 that he has received Diksha from Sadhguru Swamigal and has been doing sadhana for 30 years. It means he must have gotten initiated in 1919. When Sadhguru Shribrahma came to Coonoor in the Nilgiris, people did not know who he was, so initially he stayed in the Subramanya temple near Coonoor bus stand. This is an ancient temple. The priests of the temple did not allow him to stay any further the moment they saw some tribals visiting him. Sadhguru left the temple in anger. It is interesting to note that a temple of such an ancient lineage is today maintained by government-appointed administrators who are not the best people for such a delicate job. From here, he went to Muthumariyamman temple nearby and stayed there for some time. It is worth noting that the caretakers of this temple were related to the same family from whom Sadhguru had purchased the land for the Tiruchirappalli Ashram in Tiruvannaikoil. The representative forms of Shiva and Vishnu deities on either side of the Mariamman goddess here is a method still followed in the Tiruchirappalli areas.
Sadhguru Mahamuni came and stayed here for a few days. My father used to come here to sing bhajans long before his marriage. Today you don't find devoted people who can sing bhajans like that.
They told us that Ramasamy Adigal also had come and stayed here for a few days much later. Although we had chosen to only showcase the people who had directly come in touch with Sadhguru Shribrahma, we would like to include Ramasamy Adigal here. We need to acknowledge the phenomenal work done by him in both social and spiritual areas. Born in 1899, he came in touch with Guruvel Swami as he was from a village near Elankadu, which was Guruvel Swami's village. From 1932 or so, he got involved with Sadhguru Raja Yoga Sangam and was continuously involved in its various activities till 2005, when he passed away at the ripe age of 105.
He came to Nilgiris before 1942. His prime area of activity was to support the poor, especially the scheduled tribes of the mountains. He worked very hard for their education and started a school here in Coonoor. Ramalinga Swami had told us that he did tapas here beneath this tree. Those days, this whole place was a jungle. He did tapas for one mandala. Bereti Nanjasamy used to bring him milk daily. He would have nothing else. According to Nuladi Shastra, Swami said the Moolasthana is positioned from the tree. There he kept Sadhguru's shrine and received a vision to establish this huge place.
அவர் இந்த மடாலயத்தை நிறுவுவதற்காக
He traversed the entire Nilgiris to gather all devotees of Sadhguru in order to build an ashram. He requested funds from many of them to the tune of rupees 1 and 2 and established this huge place with educational institution and other buildings.
கட்டடங்களை நிறுவி கல்விக்கூடத்தை நிறுவியுள்ளார். ஆன்மீகத்திலும் நீலகிரி மாவட்டம்
He worked equally hard in the spiritual area too. Thousands of people were drawn to him and he gave Diksha. He was the main reason the Shaiva tradition is established in so many areas.
கிராமங்களிலே தேவாரம் திருவாசகம்
Today, if you go to any village during the month of Margadi, you will find people chanting Devaram and Thiruvasagam. It is all because of him.
ராமலிங்க அடிகளார் அவர்கள் குன்றக்குடி அடிகளார் அவர்களுடன் இணைந்து
Ramasamy Adigal has done a great service to develop the Tamil language and culture, along with Kundrakudi Adigalar and Perur Adigalar.
ஆகிய இரண்டு யூனிவர்சிட்டிகளில் இவருடைய சேவை
Bhartiyar University and Madras University has appointed him twice as a Senate member as an acknowledgement for his contribution.
அந்த இடத்துல ரொம்ப பசி பட்டினி இருந்ததுனால
Jharkhand state was going through poverty and famine. Swami went there and brought the children and provided place for them to stay and educated them. Similarly, from Nagaland also he brought children and provided them with education.
பள்ளிக்கூடம் ஆரம்பமாகிறதுக்கு முக்கிய காரணம் நம்ம சி சுப்பிரமணியம் அவர்கள் நம்ம தமிழ்நாட்டில் கல்வி அமைச்சராக இருந்த
C. Subramaniam, who was the education minister, and Avinasi Chettiar were instrumental in establishing this school. Chief Minister Kamraj also was very supportive of all the activities. Kakkanji helped in many ways. Ujjal Singh, governor, had come here and appreciated Swami's work. EVR Periyar, DMK head, and CM Annadurai, Karunanidhi, Indira Gandhi, and Nehruji had sent appreciation letters to Swami. Rajendra Prasad, the first president of the country, had also praised Swami.
ஜனாதிபதி பாராட்டு கடிதம் அவரு கூட கொடுத்திருக்காரு.
Many more such leaders and personalities had visited the Coonoor Ashram and the institutions here. Because of the power of his tapas, he had a strong body and strong will. He continued to work intensely even in his old age and attained samadhi at the age of 105.
தனது 105வது வயதில் அவர் சமாதி அடைந்தார்.
At Naduhatti, we met 88-year-old Belli Ayya, a teacher and then eventually principal of the Sadhguru School and ITI. Belli Ayya had known Ramasamy Adigal for 40 years.
I was not like other teachers. I didn't have to conduct classes. My responsibility was to bring the children to school. Initially, it was very difficult to make them attend school. Somehow we made them study well. All the students who studied under me have all retired now. They are doctors, some have studied abroad. Another one is a doctor who has built a house in our village.
As with any other devotee of Sadhguru Shribrahma, Belli Ayya could also not talk about anything else and started sharing stories about Sadhguru.
Sadhguru used to mix all the food people brought and gave it to everyone assembled. If somebody as much as even thought, "Ew, how can one eat this?" Sadhguru would say, "No food for you. You move aside." After giving it to everyone, he would just take a morsel and put it into his mouth like this. That will be his food for the whole day.
Although we had wondered about the reasons why Sadhguru had done more initiations in the Nilgiris compared to other places, it was Belli Ayya who confirmed it. Sadhguru has noticed how deeply the people of Nilgiris were already steeped in devotion. He had also pointed out that their cultural symbols like earrings, turban or white cloths indicated a spiritual way of life. In a way, they were more ready for this Diksha through their way of life.
The contractor who used to be a mason in those days come often to have Sadhguru's darshan. Sadhguru saw his earrings, acknowledged and said, "This one will come to Bereti." This is how he would say, "This one will come." The very next day, they took him to Bereti. It was an uphill path. On the top was small clearing. He reached there and looked sideways and said, "You thief, you have come here too." The people who went with him did not understand, so they asked him. Sadhguru said, "Subramanya has come here." That whole area was under British control. Military area. Barracks. Now in that spot, a Subramanya temple has come up. Barracks Subramanya temple. Nobody would have dreamt of a temple in the barracks. If a church came up, it would have been believable, because those times were such. But Sadhguru said, Subramanya is here. And a temple was eventually built and is being administrated by the military people. Subramanya's form looks almost alive, that if you call him, he may come to you. He also said another thing, "These people will go away," referring to the Britishers. Then he went down the hill and went up to Bereti. Jivagakanni is too difficult to understand. Just reading it once is not enough to get it. He has told not to sacrifice animals in temples. The people said, "We are so used to eating non-vegetarian food. But as you are saying this, what shall we do?" They asked him openly. He said, "Stop killing animals. If you strongly feel like eating it, think of me in that moment. You will lose the desire to eat. Just say Gurunatha." Through Karagora, Jagdala, via Yellanhalli, he went to Ooty. On the way, he stopped at a cave near Valley View, Tiger Cave. I don't know the details about that. So we grew up like this. Whoever we see, we would say, "Swami Namaskaram." They may be Adivasis or Harijan. Once a deputy collector, Muthu Raja, called me. I was warden of the hospital at Wellington. He called me to join him to go to a place which came under his administration. When we went there, I did Namaskaram to all, and they all responded with Namaskaram. He asked, "Why you have to do Namaskaram to them?" I said, "We are from Sadhguru Sangha. We say Namaskaram to all and address all as Swami." Ramaswamy Adigal used to continuously keep talking with people who had come to meet him. It would go late into the night. At 3:30 am, he would take bath and come. We would struggle to keep our eyes open. He would continue to sit and do puja the next day. He wouldn't even know that he missed his sleep the previous night. He was like that. Thousands of people used to come to Coonoor Ashram. Sadhguru said, "You feed 10 people now. You will get money to feed 20 people tomorrow." Many bags of rice used to be cooked for Annadanam.
From what we hear, Ramasamy Adigal seems to have been a man of sadhana and a very active social and spiritual life. He raised donations from individuals, organizations and the government, and he spent it on buying land for building schools and also used it for the tribals so that they could build their own houses. He joined hands with Kundrakudi Adigalar, who was the head of one of the biggest Shaiva matas in Tamil Nadu, and performed lots of activities related to social upliftment, eradication of poverty and untouchability, women empowerment, etc.
திரு ராமலிங்க அடிகளாருடைய சேவையை
In appreciation of Swami's work, the government awarded Anna Medal and some money. He donated it back to the government towards the Cyclone Relief Fund. Many such prizes and awards were given to him, but he gave it all back for the welfare of the downtrodden and tribal people.
அவர் தனக்காக வைக்காம அது ஏழை மக்களுக்காக அது அர்ப்பணம் தான் பல நேரத்தில் செஞ்சுருக்காரு.
ஏன்னா கவர்மெண்ட் கெசட்டில் இருக்கு.
Swami had established schools in Kallamadai, Singanallur, Thekampatti, Mettupalayam, Kallar, Maniyarapatti, Manikandam, Kadamalai Kundru. In Irumbadu, 77 acres was given to Swami. As Swami was not able to manage it, he distributed 2 acres per family in the tribal community. A farm was organized and still going on. When Amma Satyavani Muthu was minister, this 77 acres was given to Swami. Similarly, he formed a cooperative society in Kunjapanai. In Masinagudi also he formed a cooperative society. Earlier, when tribal people collected soap nuts and other herbs, the forest officials caught them. Swami got it legalized so that they can continue living off the forest. Swami did service throughout Tamil Nadu, but in later stages, finances became tight. When he was young, he raised funds and managed it. When he aged, he could not do it. In 2005, the night before Paunami, Ramaswamy Adigal was admitted in the hospital. I was there along with Raman sir, teacher Raman, Nagraj. Swami made us promise him that we won't stop the work and carry it on. Annadanam should happen and education should be given to poor people. This is what I did and you people must continue this. Because of that promise, we are continuing to do this. It is all because of his inspiration and the grace of Sadhguru Nadar.
அந்த முதல் ஜெனரேஷனில் ஆயிரக்கணக்கான பக்தர்கள் தீட்சை பெற்று
In that generation, thousands of people who had received initiation become devotees and supported Ramaswamy Adigal's activities. Now the number of initiates have become less. This generation is not keen on receiving initiation.
இப்போ இருக்கிற தலைமுறை வந்து தீட்சை வாங்குறதுல அவ்வளோ
They go out to other cities and overseas.
வெளிநாட்டுக்கு போகிறாங்க.
Because of Western influence, not many want to get initiated.
தீட்சை வாங்குறதெல்லாம் இப்போ ரொம்ப கம்மிட்டாங்க. ஒரு 100
Only 100 initiates are members in the Sangha here. The income also has been reducing for our institution.
இப்போ குறைஞ்சிட்டு வருது. குறைஞ்சிட்டு வரதுனால நாங்கள்
So we are not able to develop the place.
வசதி வாய்ப்புனால அதிகமான முன்னேற்றம்.
We wish to start an English medium school. We also want to increase the seats in ITI.
அப்படிங்க விருப்பப்படுறோம். அதே மாதிரி ஐடிஐ வந்து இன்னும் அதிகம்.
We want to expand the industrial training department. We need basic facilities for that. We need lakhs to develop the infrastructure.
அப்படின்னு விரும்புகிறோம். இப்போ இதுக்கெல்லாம் வந்து அடிப்படை வசதிகள் அதிக தேவைப்படுது. இப்போ அதுக்கு வந்து லட்சக்கணக்கில் இன்ஃப்ராஸ்ட்ரக்சரை டெவலப் பண்ண வேண்டியது இருக்குது.
We need funds. If funds start coming in, we will be able to increase the services we are providing for the needy.
ஏழை மக்களுக்கு நாங்கள் செய்கிற சேவையை வந்து இன்னும் அதிகமாக விரிவுபடுத்தலாம். இந்த பில்டிங் வந்து அகஸ்தியா மோட்டார் மெக்கானிக் பில்டிங்குங்க. இந்த பில்டிங் வந்து அகஸ்தியா ஃபிட்டர் செக்ஷன்னு. அப்புறம் மேலே உள்ளது ஹை ஸ்கூலுங்க.
The people at Coonoor Ashram were very cooperative and they showed us the records written during the time of Ramaswamy Adigal. He had written down many instances and situations which happened in the life of Sadhguru Shribrahma as told to him by Sri Guruvel Swami. It was helpful for us to confirm many things which we had heard people say in the past. Naduhatti has the maximum number of disciples who had received initiation directly from Sadhguru Shribrahma as per the records. There may have been hundreds of others who may have received initiations that we don't know about.
Sadhguru himself had not come to Naduhatti, at least not that we know of. But one day he was missing from OT. The next day when Nallu Swami Naidu asked Sadhguru, he replied that he had gone to Naduhatti.
Nallu Swami Naidu அவர் குரு பக்தர். அவர் கேட்கும்போது நான் நேற்றுக்கு நடுவட்டிக்கு போயிட்டேன்னாராம்.
Nallu Swami Naidu's disciple has told this to him. Maybe he did not come in his physical body, but he says that he was in Naduhatti.
சொல்லியிருக்கார் நான் நேற்று நடுவட்டில் இருந்திருக்கேன் அப்படின்னு.
When we first visited the village, there was nobody around and we met an old woman who was very hospitable and invited us to her house behind the Mahalinga Swami temple and offered us food.
இருக்கட்டும்மா பரவாயில்ல
இல்ல வாங்க
பரவாயில்ல பரவாயில்ல
கொஞ்சம் டீ குடிச்சிட்டு போகலாம்
பரவாயில்ல பரவாயில்ல
இருக்கட்டும்மா இருக்கட்டும் பரவாயில்லைங்கம்மா
இப்ப வா வந்து என்ன வா வாங்க இதே பொண்ணு இருக்கதும் கொஞ்சம் அதா டீ வந்து தெரியாத ஆளு வந்துட்டு என்னத்துக்கும் நான் பெரிய குருவே ஓம் குருவே ஓம் குருவே தார் குருவே ஓம் குரு.
Later, when we sat and interacted with Belli Ayya and other elders of the village, they took us to the house of another initiate and disciple post Belli Gowder. He was called by this name because he held the position of postmaster at the Wellington post office. His house had a painting of Sadhguru which was used during the annual Guru Puja. Then we were taken to the temple. They call it the Aranganatha temple.
உலகெல்லாம் போற்றி நிற்கும் ஓங்காரங்காரனே.
They have kept Sadhguru's picture inside the temple on the left side of the sanctum. Although it is a Perumal temple, it has a linga inside. I found that interesting and unique. Ramalinga Swami, between all his social activities and commitments, took time off regularly to go into periods of sadhana in places where Sadhguru Shribrahma had stayed. One such trail is the Agastya Trail, which we encountered in one of his photo galleries. Agastya Muni, also referred to as Sage Agastya, Agastya Maharishi, or just Agastya, in the Guru Parampara of Sadhguru Shribrahma, Lord Ganesha and Lord Subramanya are the first two Gurus. The third in the lineage is Agastya Muni. We have often noticed the words Agasthyar Paramparai Sri Sadgurunatha Muni on many of Sadhguru's photos. In the lineage, Agastya Muni is like the transition from Ganesha and Subramanya, who are held as divine beings by humans. There are lots of stories from the Kashikanda Purana, conversations between Lord Subramanya and Agastya Muni, and references from pre-Vedic texts attributed to have been written by Agastya Muni himself and his wife Lopamudra. Agastya Muni is considered as the pioneer of South India's famous Siddha medicine, which explains why most Siddha practitioners of these parts have Agastya Muni's picture in their clinic. There is a huge expanse of forest reserve between Kanyakumari and Kerala, which has been named as the Agastya Malai Biosphere Reserve. This 3,500 square kilometers of land is under the protection of UNESCO's World Network of Biosphere Reserves. It holds 2,400 species of plants, 400 of which are indigenous to this region. The Siddha practitioners collect herbs from this forest till this day under a special license. Many temples surrounding this reserve on either sides of the states are said to have been consecrated by Agastya Muni. Probably the most well-known among these is the Ponsoriyam Muttayyan or Sorimuthu Ayyanar temple in the Podihai hills. The Mahalinga Swami is said to be consecrated by Agastya Muni. It is one of the 6 temples which also include Sabarimala that were established for the 6 chakras of the human body. This temple is consecrated for the Mooladhara chakra, and it is said Lord Ayyappan would come here as a child to learn Kalaripayattu and other martial arts. Ramaswamy Adigal came here and spent time in Agastya Kudam, Papanasam and Kutralam as these places where Sadhguru Shribrahma had stayed for some time. Ramaswamy Adigal went to all the places he had heard Guruvel Swami speak about. Since these were the places where Sadhguru Shribrahma had stayed, we set forth on the Agastya Trail with the support of notes written by Ramaswamy Adigal. Kutralam is a favorite spot of tourists because of its waterfall. But I doubt if they know about Kutralam's connection to Agastya Muni. Agastya Muni had himself consecrated the Kutralishwarar temple. The rocks underneath the waterfall have many lingas and other deities sculpted on them. The water that flows over these lingas and sculptures and through the dense forests of the Agastya reserve that is enriched with many medicinal plants is said to carry medicinal, healing and rejuvenating properties. Chitrasabai is also one of the places among these where Shiva's dancing form, the Nataraja, is the main deity. The well-known Chidambaram temple is made in gold, Porchabai, and other associated temples are Tiruvalangadu, which is Ratna Sabai, gems, Madurai, Velli Sabai, silver, Tirunelveli, Tamira Sabai, copper, and Kutralam, Chitra Sabai. Chitram means painting. Agastya Muni is said to have painted the Nataraja form using herbal paint. Before deities were made in granite and later in bronze, the temple sanctums used to have paintings of deities. The Agama Shastras say that of all the materials, paintings are the most powerful and effective. Papanasam is 36 kilometers south of Kutralam. Papanasam literally means destruction of one's past ill deeds. Said to be more than 1000 years old, with its outer parikrama and gopurams being built by subsequent kings, this temple lies along the banks of Tamiraparani river. Surrounded by the Mundanturai Tiger Forest Reserve and Agastya Reserve Forest, this temple is the chosen spot for many people to perform rituals for their ancestors. The temple is one of the 9 temples along the river called the Navakailasanathar. Kalyana Tirtham is situated a little deeper into the forest, beyond the checkpost and behind Papanasam temple. This is the place where a darshan of Shiva and Parvati's marriage was given to Agastya Muni, hence the name Kalyana Tirtham. The Agastya Falls are also nearby. There is a consecrated form of Agastya Muni and Lopamudra here. There is also a Koti Linga and Ulagammai as Shakti in another smaller temple here. Agastya Kudam is the place inside the reserve forest where there is a statue of Agastya Muni. It is a 2-day trek into the forest. The Khanis, the tribe who have been living here for centuries, hold Agastya Muni as their community deity. A cross was installed here in the late 60s and a placard by the statue read Saint Agastya, which was strongly opposed by the Khanis. A complaint was taken to the people in Papanasam and subsequently a case was filed for enquiries to be held. After court orders were passed in 1970, one gentleman by the name of Mr. M.S. Sundaram Pillai installed a 2-foot statue of Agastya Muni in this spot. That statue went missing after many years, and once again a taller statue was established that exists today. Ramalinga Swami had brought a few people along with him during his visit and stayed here. This place can be accessed only from the Kerala side through Bonaccord Forest near Neyar Dam. Permits are given only for 30 days in a year during January-February to go to this spot with an overnight stay at the forest guest house. These places evoked a sense of meditativeness and serenity when we visited them. Usually sacred spaces are referred to as tirthas, and here we found lots of places referred to as tirthas. In the Siddha tradition, these spaces are considered to hold the presence of Agastya Muni and other great Siddhas in their Sukshma Sharira or subtle body even today. During our visits to these places, especially the Agastya Trail, many things started falling in place for me, especially pertaining to the life of Manavai Siddhar or Poti, the disciple of Sadhguru Shribrahma. My own village was no more than an hour away from the reserve. In the next episode, we will go to other places outside Tamil Nadu where we discover an imprint of Sadhguru Shribrahma's feet.